Katja Williams, the Rural Mum, and today I'm here with Cherie Coddington out here on their farm, which is just south of Dubbo. And we're talking, you've married the farmer, now what? So thank you very much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Can you please introduce yourself, your family and your farming situation?
Okay. Hi, my name is Cherie Coddington, and it's lovely to have you here and have this chat. I've been involved with this farm for, at least been married for 26 years. So I came from Canberra originally and then got married and moved to another property and then came to this one that we're living in now. So I did grow up on a farm for a period of my life until I was 12, so I wasn't completely shocked into the system. So I'm married to Matthew and we have 5 children, and we have our main enterprise is a merino stud. We have cattle and we do a bit of cropping that obviously evolves around the sheep enterprise, but the merino stud is our main enterprise. And pretty much since I've been married, I've pretty much been on the farm helping in some way or another, or there was a period of time when I went off farm and did a few different things. So yeah, that's how it all sort of started.
Yes, that's good. Perfect intro. So can you tell me a little bit about how your role has developed from when you first moved to the farm to what it is now today?
Yeah, okay. So like I said, I've been married now 26 years, and when I initially came to the farm, I did work off farm. I have a teaching degree and I did a bit of work in Dubbo. And I think 2 years into our marriage, our first daughter came along, Savannah. And from that point, then we had another 3 children quite quickly, Tessa, Charlie and Millie, and I had 4 children under the age of 6, I think it was. So it was quite a busy time. So that period of my life, I was pretty much a mother full time. I wasn't working off farm at all. I did help Sally, my mother-in-law, with the bookwork, and just it wasn't like it is now where it's all on the cloud. You had to bring your stack of papers over and enter them all in. So I've always sort of played a role in, I guess, the bookkeeping side of things. On this farm, we do have other staff, so I probably didn't really help that much in the paddock as such, and having little children. I would obviously go see Matthew in the paddock and that sort of thing, and I would help where I could, but I wouldn't say I had a very active role outside in those early days. And then as we've got older, we went through family succession and that type of thing. I think we were, just trying to think of the age, it was 2008, early 30s, something like that. We went through succession. We moved to the main homestead, and Sally and Graham moved to another place, Ewandale, away from where sort of all the action is, I guess. And we started to take on a bit more of a role with the financial side of things, and that's probably the main role that I have played on the farm, is more the office administration and that sort of thing. And then I have, like I said, I don't really help too much outside with the sheep, only if they really need me, but I do a lot of the cattle trading and that sort of thing. So I guess from the early days on, I've got more responsibility on the farm, but I've been more on the admin side of things rather than, I do get out in the paddocks, but I wouldn't say, I'm not working full time outside. Yes, that's basically my role, besides being a mother to 5 kids in there.
Yep. Which is massive on itself.
Yeah. And that's, fun times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
As the kids joined you on the farm, was there certain tips and tricks that you brought into the household as well as down the paddock that really helped as they grew and help you with the farming lifestyle? Yeah,
I have always treated my kids as portable. They never stopped me from doing anything. Wherever I was, my kids were. And when I first moved to the farm, I didn't have a lot of support in terms of came from my family were in Canberra at that time, and they all lived there. So pretty much I was self-reliant in those early days, and my kids just, whatever I was doing, they came with me, and I just, they didn't stop me from doing anything, I guess. And it's just remembering that they are portable. Like we used to go to Sydney Royal having a show, a stud, sorry. We used to do a lot of showing and that type of thing, but Savannah has never missed a Sydney Royal, and I think she was 6 weeks old when they first Sydney Royal, and they just always I said that, so just remember that whatever you do, they can do, and they adapt really well. And it's, the more, you're always a bit prepared when you do go into those sorts of things. And although, to be honest, I wasn't always the best mother to bring everything, the kitchen sink. I just I don't know, we survived and they survived.
You worked with what you had.
Yeah, exactly. And it was probably hectic. I remember having 4 kids at Sydney Royal on a double pram, 2 kids on top basically, and 2 kids in the bottom, and just, you know, pushing it, and the wheels on the pram were like that because of the weight. Yeah, and I don't know, I don't look back at that time and go, oh my gosh, what was I doing? You know, we all really had fun.
Yeah.
I will admit my kids were kids that stayed very close to me. They weren't wanderers, or I never chased them very far. Wherever I was, they never strayed. So I was a bit lucky. I did see some poor mums who the kid would take off and, you know, they'd be after them. But I will say my kids stayed. Yeah. And my mother used to call me Mother Duck because I had the 4 little ducks behind me. Yeah. So that probably made it a little bit easier. But they were just always part of it. We never treated them any, you know, left them at home or whatever we did, they did.
Yeah. Was there anything that you wouldn't leave the house without?
Probably baby wipes.
Yeah.
They like I said, I still use them now. I still have a packet that I can grab they solve everything.
Yeah, they do.
As long as you've got baby wipes,
Yeah.
It's I think that would be the thing that I would always try to have, if nothing else. Yeah. Because you're a bit lost because if they vomit, if they have dirty hands, just you've always got them.
Yeah. If you want to clean a surface.
Exactly. It's not even just the kid, it's anything around the car, So probably baby wipes.
Yeah. When heading down the paddock, what was your main mode of transport?
Well, back then, it would have had to have been, like we're talking, it's 25 now.
Yeah.
It would have been just the ute. We didn't have side-by-sides or anything back then. And I don't really remember riding the quad that much or anything like that with kids. So we would have just all piled into a ute and just, kids on top of us and that sort of thing. So that definitely, and where we initially lived when the kids were quite little, the yards weren't that far away so you could walk. Yep. So you do a lot of walking that too. And then where we are now is sort of the main, where most of the stuff happens. Yep. You know, you drive across here and then usually you just walk down to the shed. So there probably wasn't a lot of, my kids would have loved the side-by-side and they would have definitely been on them, and I would have taken that if there had been that option. But it's just generally and my kids never had motorbikes really. Maybe I think Charlie got one, but they just never really rode them. I don't know why. Timmy, now my youngest, loves it and has one, but he never did the horse thing either. So it's all different.
What age did everyone start riding their horses?
Very little. Savannah would have been 18 months old when she got her first horse, and they were a big part of, I guess, that were my thing when I first came to the farm, I did find it a little bit isolating and didn't have a lot of people I knew around me. So the horse thing was just my outlet. So it was quite important to me back then, and I was very crazy in terms of the places we used to go and how little they were. And I look back and go, oh, what were you thinking? Like, it was so unnecessary in terms of, people, if you ever talk to anyone who knew me at that time, just shake their head at me and go, why have you got 4 children out here? 2 in a pram, 2 on horses, by myself? Because generally when you marry a farmer, they're not always there, and they've got other stuff on. So I did a lot of it, by myself. And it was fun though, it was fun. And it was my outlet. So it was my thing that I did. I guess it kept me a little bit sane, and it was my interest. So we had a lot of fun. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, had a lot of fun.
Do you have any tips for picking the right horse for the right kid?
Oh, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's definitely, if you can find one, word of mouth, and someone who, some horse has been outgrown, especially when they're very little. Yeah. And you just got to have the most kind, forgiving type horse that's very safe, because there's not, even though horses are generally, they're not bad or anything like that, but just a little kid doesn't have, they don't have the control or, the brain to sort of think as an adult and stuff. So it's just, word of mouth is just trying to find that. And it's not always easy, and it's a bit of a bumpy ride trying to find the right horse, and do your research. If you are buying one off someone else, ring someone who's been to the pony club with it, or who knows the family. Someone will know someone in the horse industry who's seen that pony or knows something about those people. Yeah. And that's probably the best way. Just check up, and and I didn't always get it right either, and people weren't always honest in terms of. Yeah. And so I learned along the way. And it took a long time to find the right horse. And Paul Vanna, the first, she went through a few rough ones to begin with, but we got there. Yeah, we got there, and they've all got great skills now, good life skills that even if they only ever sit on a horse, 3 times, they still can. Yeah, yeah. And there's lots of other stuff that comes with it too. Yeah, the whole animal responsibility and that sort of thing.
Yes, looking after their own horse from very young.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they all did that as much as I did, but that's part of it.
Learnt skills, that's for sure.
yeah, they did. They did. So yeah, that was all fun.
You mentioned that moving out here was quite isolating, particularly when the kids were quite young. Do you have any advice or any tips and tricks on how you were able to make that easier as time went by, or any mindset changes that you needed to make?
It definitely got easier once, you started to get involved in stuff. Like, you definitely have to find something that interests you. Like I said, I did it through horses, where I met people and created, a few friendship networks and that sort of thing. But that's very hard when they're tiny, tiny tots. I think I definitely enjoyed my mother's group when that was created when I had my first child. And not that I have probably maintained many of those friendships going forward, but at the time it was just a good outlet and just somewhere to go once a week for a little bit and just chat to other people. Obviously, if you can continue working in some ways, another good thing. I mean, I made a choice because when you live out of town, you've got to, the drive in, the drive out. It's not easy. I mean, I know people in the city probably do a lot more commuting than we do out here, but I made a decision to stay home with the kids when they were little. But I think it's just trying to find something where you can get involved with, and you do have to go out and seek that, depending on your community. Sometimes, some smaller communities might have things going on that it's easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think looking back, it was quite hard when the kids were little, and then just over time, it does gradually happen where you start to meet, a few people by doing those sorts of whatever interest. You've got to find what that is. And the thing is, I do like the farm in terms of, it's not that I don't like working on the farm or whatever. I mean, that might interest you too, and that might be enough to do as well. It just depends on your what you want personally, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of people at the moment are interested in succession. Did you want to talk a little bit more about that?
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Like succession, we were very lucky in that we got to go through it quite early. Matthew is the only son, which does make it, a little bit easier in some ways. And he does have two sisters, which in time, I guess, that will, like when we did our succession, we didn't get the whole farm. We just got a section of the farm and had to pay a price for that part of the farm. So it wasn't just about being given to us at all. But I do think it's a very big thing at the moment, and I see a lot of people our age going through it now, and see a lot of family breakdown from it, which is just breaks my heart, because everyone's worked so hard on this asset to keep it going, and for whatever reason, like Matthew is a 5th generation wool farmer, so there's a lot of emotion involved in succession. But I think the key is just that communication early on, and the more you can talk about it. But I think one of the biggest sticking point is people have expectations, and then they're not met later down, and they have this idea of where it's all going to end or how it's going to work out. But quite often that's not the reality, because it hasn't been talked about early enough. And also, my probably advice to, if you're a 22-year-old now and you're on a family farm and you're working for mum and dad, still look after yourself in that. And if you're lucky enough to be earning a wage, still do off-farm investing. Don't just have the expectation that you're going to walk into this farm or whatever. Have the thought that I still have to look after myself, and have this off-farm stuff happening, whatever it is. If you're able to, buy a little house in Gilgandra, or shares, or keep doing that, and do that from a really young age, because as you get older, and if you've still got a bit of an asset base going early, and even if the parents have done that as well, it makes succession easier. The earlier you start to think about your exit plan, because there's always an exit plan for everyone, because we don't live forever.
Yeah.
So, at some point, everyone's going to have to leave. So the earlier you think about that sort of stuff, the earlier you talk about that sort of stuff, is the key. But the problem is that quite often doesn't happen. And it's just about trying to educate people. And it always works out better if people can have an open, honest discussion in the long run. And they can be, just sit down and talk about things. But quite often there's a lot of emotions involved. And then it just, everything just sort of loses sight. And the saddest thing now, I think, is that farms are worth so much money. There's because land has increased, people just see farms as a big money asset. But the way I see it is that it's just a tool. You know, like we're here and we've worked it, but the idea should be that we should try to pass it on to the next. Well, what's the point of doing all the work that we do? And there are a lot of sacrifices when you are a farmer, because sometimes you can't go and do something, or you do give up a lot with your kids or whatever because shearing's happening or cropping's happening, sowing. So there are a lot of sacrifices. So if you can't sort of hand that on, I don't know what the point. Or somehow, I mean, some people have kids that are interested, and that's, you know, that has its, I guess, natural ending. But yeah, I just see it as a tool in terms of that we shouldn't look at it as an actual asset base. And if you keep chipping away at that tool, there's not enough left to actually create an income anyway. So it's all complex. I've probably got a bit wishy-washy there and gone all over the shop, but I do, yeah, it's a massive thing, succession, and it's something, you can't do it when the parents are 60, 70. Sometimes that's just a bit too late. The asset mightn't be big enough to be able to pass on. So that's when I say the 22-year-old needs to start thinking about it then, because, and the more they prep themselves, I mean, they might not even be married yet, but as long as they're sort of setting themselves up financially, and I'd say just say they put in 10 grand a year if they're lucky enough into shares or super, even using their super. So then when they're 60, they've got this massive big super thing that whatever's happened in the farm doesn't really matter. They might have been lucky enough to, you know, take it on, you know, it might become their asset or whatever. But if they have kids, they walk away, they've got this really good fund here that they can actually walk away and they're independent of the farm. Yeah. So that's sort of what I, you know, that's where people have to start talking about it and doing it earlier. But it does end up, there's no clear answer.
No, never.
But they're just my thoughts on, reflection of how can we do it better, and how can, farm. You just want the family. As a mother, I want my kids to remain friends, and I've got 5, so it's not going to be easy, but we openly talk about it with them now. And we also sort of say, you know, if I put it on paper, it's probably not going to be fair in terms of asset split and stuff like that, but you'll all get something. And but I think if you talk to them about it, then their expectations are, okay, well, that's what's going to happen. And they go on with their lives. They go and do what they're going to do. And I guess it all just comes down to being responsible for your own life and making sure, and not relying on, yes, if that happens, that's good. But I've seen lots of incidents where it doesn't happen, or something happens in there, you know, someone might die, or someone's brother was married and now they're divorced. And so there's this, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen in the future. So that's why you just got to sort of, take responsibility for yourself and try to plan an exit right from a really early age, because that way you'll be okay. Yep. So that's my thoughts on succession.
Perfect.
Probably very long.
Earlier we were talking about farmer to wife, and hearing about a lot of, you know, okay, if these girls do marry the farmer, and a lot of them have come from a city background, if someone was moving out here to the country and marrying their farmer, what advice would you give them?
I don't know, you learn on the job.
Yeah.
Don't you? I don't know. I was thinking when I read one of your questions, you know, did anyone give me any advice? And I don't think they did. I can't remember them actually saying. I think it is just learning on the job, but you have to come in with your eyes a little bit open, because quite often I had a friend tell me that you're marrying the farmer, but you're not marrying his family. But it is true that when you come into a family farm, quite often there is a lot of dynamics that you have to, you know, I guess adapt to, just see how they all work. So, you know, I don't know if there's any advice except you learn on the job.
It's a slow process. It takes time.
Yeah, and you definitely have to have a level of patience and acceptance, and because they do work hard, most our husbands, and longer hours. I would say as being the partner, and the partner might come in and work on the farm too. I'm not, you know, it depends on the situation. They might love that and work really alongside. So it's a little bit different here because we just have staff, and it's just that sort of gets taken away a little bit. But I think I would just say don't lose yourself is probably one of them, and that goes with being any mother, and when you enter into a relationship and have kids, is just, try to look after yourself and make sure you're still doing some things that you need to do to maintain your identity, because sometimes it is easy in these situations, to sort of lose you, and especially when you're raising kids, is that part. So that happens to a lot of women. It's not necessarily just farming. So I would say to them, just if you have an interest, keep doing it. Don't, you may have to do it on your own, You know, you may, and it's not that they don't support you, they do. They want you to be happy. They want you to do whatever you want to do. It's you know, my husband has never stopped me from doing. I've done some crazy shit, but you know, I've bred mini foxes. I've had 10 mini foxes running around. I used to drag the kids around everywhere. I do some things out there that people go, what the hell are you doing? But so just try to maintain something that's important to you, and make sure that you keep doing that. Don't because over time, if you do give that up, it can catch up with you. I guess so. That would be my main thing is just and do insist on having time away from the farm as a family, as a couple, because I can't. It's just you realise once you go away, and we have been quite good at that. We always take holidays. We even if it's for a week, it's so important. If you just stay, and especially in hard times like drought and things like that, it's really important to still. I don't care if you go camping. I don't care. It doesn't have to be expensive. I'm not talking about an overseas holiday. I'm talking about just go away, go visit friends, go. It's really important to get away from a farm because it actually allows you to think, it allows you to focus on other things. It just, I don't know, it's refreshing. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the other thing is if you're moving on to it, still tell your husband, because I know of a few that it's so hard to get away. Once they go, they're good, but they're really hard to get away.
To get in the car.
Yeah, and once they're in the car, they're good. But I'm just saying, as a wife, book that damn holiday, except it doesn't have to be expensive. Go visit some friends somewhere, go find a couch to sleep on, I don't care. But that is super, I think, really super important as a mum, as a wife, as whatever. And then, and I guess just the hardest thing, and that's not necessarily farming, wife as well, it's just, try to look after yourself a little bit with, we tend to put ourselves last. We're all guilty of that. And I probably only got to an age where I'm going, no, I think I need to just take a little bit more care and that sort of thing. But no, I enjoy it as well. Like, look at, sometimes I'll get on top of the hill and I go, oh, wow, and just take the moment and breathe it in, because, you do get caught up with enjoy it, because some people would just kill to be in that situation. So I guess it's just reminding yourself that I'm lucky to be able to breathe the air, to have the space around me. So they're probably a few of the things that I'd probably, it's not really advice, but it's reflection back as, as I said, I'm a little bit older than most other people. I'm not that old, but, I've had a few years, I guess, here, and it's just looking back and seeing what works and what helps, I guess, in coping with everything that's going on. And I guess that probably one other thing is just keep educating yourself. If you really are keen on the whole farming thing or whatever you do, just don't stop learning. Go away, do Matthew and I have found so much benefit in doing little short courses for weekends or during the week. Like they just help refocus, and also just the networking and learning off other people. That's been, so I'd say, to anyone going on, if your husband's going to do a course, go do it with him. It's better to do it as a couple. And we are very lucky, even though we don't always say husband, but we do get a lot of time with them in some ways too, which other people don't get necessarily. So they might be working down the paddock, but you can go see them, and you can take a picnic. Not that I've done that very often, but they are just here, I guess.
They're around. They're not far.
No, that's right. And you can, and that's the other thing. If you're having a bad day and you are stuck in the house with the kids, go see them. It's the best thing ever. Like, jump in the ute, go up the paddock, and you'll be surprised at how much better you feel, or whatever, if you've got a couple of toddlers running around like crazy doing your heading, which is fine, it's normal. And we must admit, during COVID, we were also lucky if we lived on farm. Like, I can't even imagine being stuck in a unit with 3 little kids and not being able to go anywhere. My heart breaks for those. My hat goes off to those mothers that survived that. Like, that's when you appreciate sort of what we have and what we do, because it's great. Loved it. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but I don't want COVID to come back. No. We sort of got a few advantages for that situation. Yeah. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So being on the farm for around that 26 years, the seasons have definitely changed.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for either on the side of the farm or wives and mums in times of drought?
I think it's really linked into a bit what I said earlier. It's just, don't stop living, you just got to keep on, which most of us do. And it's actually not till after it finishes that we realise the impact that it's possibly had on us, or when we feel that we could go back into it, that's when you realise the effect that it's had on you. You go, oh, I don't know if I can do that again. But I think when you're in it, we've just got to be careful not to shut down and keep being proactive as much as we can and do what we can do. But at the end of the day, we can't control everything. So you can only control, what you can. So some things it is what it is, and you just have to let go of some of those things. And generally, 9 out of 10 times, we'll all be okay, regardless of what happens. As long as we have one another. Yeah. If you think of the worst scenario, it's still okay. Like you generally got to be okay type thing in my book. So that's the thing. It's like, well, shit. There's lots of people that are. It's just putting in perspective, I guess. There's lots of people that are in worse situations. Like I'd hate to be in Ukraine at the moment. Like that's life and death sort of thing. Yeah. And I guess at the end of the day, drought, and it is horrible and it is tough as you're thinking, gosh, how much longer is this going to go through? How much longer is it going to go on for? I still think we're going to be okay, whatever happens, even if you have to tent it on the lawn. I don't know, that's a bit extreme, but you know what I mean? Like I think, but it is, like I said, just doing those sorts of things, like you need to go away, even, like I said, I'm not talking about spending lots of money, just get away. It's important to catch up with people, like having people in your life. It's definitely important to just have a yarn and chat about those things when things aren't going well, because you're not alone generally. A lot of people feel like they're alone, but there's a lot of people feeling exactly as you're feeling, and a lot of things out of their control. But just chatting and finding those people, it's I think that definitely you can't sort of stay at home. If you stay at home and just let it overwhelm you, I'm not saying go out every, yeah. But if someone says go do something, go do it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's just, it's important to still keep those connections and link up with people during the tough times, I guess. And it's like anything, we all learn lessons from those times, and we try to have things in place for the next one coming round. But I mean, that last drought we had, which was 3 year long, a lot of people were prepared, but it was just something they had never seen or for that length of time. So that's why it got particularly bad, because there were a lot of people that had grain all that for quite some time, but not for 3 years. Like, people don't necessarily store grain for 3 years long, maybe a year and a half. So it was a very unusual time, but that's what we're seeing, aren't we? There's extremes coming through. Extreme weather conditions coming through, we're not quite sure. And there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, that wasn't there before. And I know our husbands are just very good at rolling with the punches. I mean, it definitely catches up with them, and they probably don't always show it or share it, which is when it is not good. But yes, just trying to let go of stuff you can't control, I guess, and just doing what you can and being prepared as much as you can, but also just reach out if just go out to dinner or something like, just those, we sort of estimate how they impact us, and even, as women, we're better at picking up the phone and having a chat to a friend or whatever. And we know how much that makes us, even if we don't talk about necessarily what's bothering us at the time, but we just get on the phone, have a chat, have a laugh, we always feel better. Yeah. Always. Like, you can't deny that those sort of connections definitely help.
Would you say that would be the same for like a wet season?
Yeah, I always call farming just a different set of problems. Yeah. So I don't know what the hell's happening. It's just a different set of problems that we're trying to solve. Whatever, wet, dry, I don't know, mice, plague, they're just constantly things that have happened that we just, it's just the same, and it's just, just trying to find ways of, and we all have our moments when we go, okay, I'm done. Yeah. But we just, I don't know, farmers are very good at just picking themselves up. They're very optimistic people. Picking themselves up and just moving on. And, and sometimes that's good and bad. And I guess it's just knowing when, I guess, if you have had enough, that's okay too. You know what I mean? Like, the problem, what I've seen in farming, there is a lot of emotion and a lot of, especially if your family's been doing it for a long time, there's a lot of history, all that sort of stuff. So that can, weigh on them.
A lot of genetics in the stud game.
That's right, a lot of genetics. And so there's a lot of weights there. But I don't know, we hopefully just come out the other side. Dust ourselves off. Yeah. And off we go again.
Yeah. Bit of a reset.
Yeah. But, but it's okay you don't have to be all positive either during those times. It's okay to have a bad day as well. That's it. It's okay to recognise that and acknowledge that, because sometimes if you don't, it does just build up as well. So yeah, it's okay then, yeah, it's not a good day today.
Yeah.
And quite often that's enough too, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you just go, oh, yeah, it's not good today. And then you go, okay, today's better. The sun's nicer or whatever. It's amazing that if it is just a nice day, how that can impact you too. So you go, oh, like a beautiful spring day or autumn day or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's perfect. Was there anything else that you, in your reflection, wanted to share or discuss today?
No, I don't think so. It's it's a blessed life in lots of ways. Like not everyone gets the opportunity to do it, but it does definitely come with its challenges. The agriculture industry's changed so much, even in the last 25 years, and there's so many good women out there doing great things within the industry, and getting more. Not that we need recognition, but they're more so on the same, I guess, level as and doing the same thing as all their male counterparts. And I guess as a family unit, like don't underestimate the role that you play, like as a woman, because quite often you're the glue within the whole thing, and quite often you're the reason why the husband does everything he does. I won't tell you that very often, but it is. And
you're part of his drive.
Yeah,
his motivation.
exactly. And so I guess enjoy it and just let life be. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having us out here on your farm. If you enjoy content and stories from rural women, whether it's moving to the farm, marrying a farmer, raising kids on land, please hit the like and subscribe button, and we will see you in more videos like this. I will link some in the description below. Thank you very much.